The story begins at a quiet railway station in Japan. A young boy named Toshi is sitting in a train on his way to his art class just like every other day. While looking around, his eyes suddenly stop on a girl he has never seen before. Something strange happens inside him. Without knowing how or why, he feels as if he has fallen in love at first sight. He keeps staring, wondering if fate will give him a chance to talk to her. When the train stops, Toshi notices that the girl also gets down at the same station. His heart beats faster. Gathering courage, he runs a little and stops her. With innocent words, he says, "Excuse me, I don't know how, but I feel I have started liking you. It surprises me too because I have never felt this before. Can you give me your email ID?" For a moment, the girl stays silent. Toshi feels embarrassed, thinking maybe he rushed too soon. Then she finally speaks. "Sorry, but I don't use a cell phone." Hearing this, Toshi's heart sinks. He forces a smile and replies softly, "That's okay." I understand. He turns to leave. Just then, the girl calls out to him. Her name is Emmy. She looks at him curiously and says, "Why are you leaving?" "I really don't use a mobile, that's all." Surprised and happy, Toshi sits with her on a nearby bench. On the screen, words appear. First day. They exchange names and talk about their lives. Toshi shares that he is 20 years old, studying hard to become a cartoon designer. Emmy smiles and says she is also 20 and currently training to be a hairdresser. Toshi feels an even stronger connection after knowing they are the same age. Then Emmy asks him a playful but serious question. "Why me? What did you see in me?" Toshi doesn't know how to answer. He is as surprised as she is. At that moment, another train arrives. Emmy stands up to leave. Toshi quickly asks, "Will we meet again?" Emmy turns back, her eyes shining with tears. "Don't worry," she says softly. "We will definitely meet tomorrow." She waves goodbye and walks away, leaving Toshi both confused and full of joy. That night, he tells everything to his best friend Shoichi. Shoichi feels happy for him and even gives him advice on how to impress Emmy more. The next day, Toshi looks for Emmy on the train, but she does not appear. Feeling a little sad, he goes to the zoo, his favorite place to sketch animals. While drawing a giraffe, he suddenly hears a familiar voice. Emmy is standing behind him, smiling. "Wow, that's a beautiful drawing," she says. "It should be displayed in your school." Toshi is shocked and asks how she found him here. Emmy avoids the question, simply saying, "You told me once that you often come here to draw." Toshi tries to remember if he had actually told her that. For a moment, a strange thought passes through his mind, but before he can say anything, he just smiles back at her. The next day, while walking together, Emmy suddenly said, "Yesterday you promised you would show me a special place." Toshi thought for a moment and then smiled. "Yes, I did. Come with me." He led her to a quiet riverbank. The sound of flowing water mixed with the evening wind, and the place looked calm and beautiful. Toshi looked at the water and said softly, "This place is very close to my heart. When I was just 5 years old, I used to come here to draw. One day I slipped and fell into the river. I nearly drowned. I still remember the fear, but at the last moment, a kind lady saved me. Without her, I would not be alive today." Emmy listened carefully. After a pause, she whispered, "That is strange. Something very similar happened to me too. When I was 5, I also almost drowned, but a man saved me." Toshi stared at her in disbelief. "No, this cannot be possible." "I know it sounds unbelievable," Emmy said gently, "but it's true. Maybe this meeting of ours now is not just by chance." The words stayed in Toshi's mind even after they parted. That night, he gathered courage and asked Emmy for her phone number. She gave it to him. Excited, he rushed home and told everything to his best friend Shoichi. Shoichi laughed and said, "Then why are you waiting? Call her. Ask her out on a date." But Toshi was too nervous. His hands trembled each time he picked up his phone. Seeing this, Shoichi grabbed the phone and guided him step by step, telling him exactly what to say. With his friend's help, Toshi finally spoke to Emmy. To his joy, she agreed to go on a date. His happiness knew no limits. Shoichi also gave him another piece of advice. "Wherever you take her, check the place first. If you know it well, you can plan everything better." Toshi took this seriously. The very next day, he visited many spots alone, noting down what was good and what Emmy might enjoy. He wanted everything to be perfect. When he reached his school later that day, he saw something that made him stop in surprise. The giraffe sketch he had made earlier was now on display for everyone to see. His mind flashed back to Emmy's words yesterday, "This should be displayed in your school." He found it strange, almost too exact, but he brushed the thought aside. Soon his days filled with joy. Toshi and Emmy went to the movies together, ate delicious food, walked in the city, and laughed until the sun went down. Each moment felt more special than the last. One evening, while they were standing at a beautiful place Toshi had chosen, he took a deep breath. His heart raced as he asked, "Emmy, will you be my girlfriend?" Emmy looked at him, then smiled warmly. "Yes, I will. But are you sure you can handle me? I get emotional very easily. I love food, and I can be very moody." Toshi laughed, his heart bursting with happiness. "I'll agree to all your conditions. I just want to be with you." The next morning, Toshi was busy shifting into a new apartment. Shoichi had come to help, and to his surprise, Emi also arrived with a smile, ready to lend a hand. Shoichi whispered to Toshi, shaking his head in disbelief, "How did you get such a good girl? She's perfect for you." He was genuinely happy for his friend. The three of them laughed and joked as they arranged furniture, folded clothes, and placed dishes in cupboards. But while moving some boxes to the corner, Emi suddenly turned away. Her shoulders trembled, and silent tears began to roll down her cheeks. She quickly wiped them away so no one would notice. What was the reason for her sadness? That secret was still hidden. While unpacking, Emi found a small wooden box tucked carefully inside an old bag. Curious, she held it up. "What's this, Toshi?" she asked. Toshi looked at it with mixed feelings and explained, This box was given to me by the lady who saved my life when I was a child. When I turned 10, she came back and handed it to me, but she made me promise never to open it. She said when the right time comes, she will return and open it herself. Until then, it must stay closed. So I've never dared to look inside." Emi listened quietly, her eyes shining with something more than curiosity. She gently placed the box back, saying nothing. Later, after the work was done, Toshi walked Emi to the station. On the way, under the soft glow of streetlights, he hesitated before asking, "Emi, can I hold your hand and walk?" She smiled softly and said, "Yes." Toshi carefully held her hand, his face turning red. "This is the first time I've ever held a girl's hand." At those words, Emi's eyes filled with tears again. She tried to hide them, but Toshi laughed kindly. "You are really very emotional, aren't you?" Emi only smiled faintly. Then as the train doors closed, she said, "We'll meet tomorrow," and disappeared into the crowd. The next day, the two of them went shopping together. Toshi enjoyed every moment, watching how Emi's eyes lit up at small things. Afterward, they returned home, and Emi insisted on cooking. Soon, the warm smell of food filled the apartment. When Toshi tasted the dishes, he froze. It was exactly like his mother's cooking. Every flavor, every touch of seasoning. Shocked, he asked, "Emi, how did you... This tastes just like my mom's food." Without thinking, Emi replied quickly, "Yes, of course, why not? This recipe is your mom's after all." The moment she said it, she realized her mistake. She covered her mouth and tried to change the topic, but Toshi's mind didn't let it go. He remembered clearly that he had never introduced Emi to his family, never once mentioned how his mother cooked. How could Emi know? Toshi sat quietly, piecing together other moments. "Emi, in the beginning, you said that my giraffe picture should be displayed, and the very next day, it actually happened. Now this, tell me honestly, can you see the future?" For a moment, Emi's face became pale. Then she forced a small laugh. "I wish I could, but imagine if it were true. What would you do with that power? Would you become rich by playing the stock market or do something else?" Toshi shook his head. His voice was firm and calm. "No, I don't care about money or success. I'm not interested in knowing the future." The next day, Emi gave Toshi a fresh haircut. On the screen, it said, "Day 15. 15 days since they first met." That evening, Toshi dropped Emi at the station and went home. There, he found Emi's diary on the table. She must have forgotten it. He opened it and tried to read, but it made no sense. The dates were going backwards. After the 10th came the 9th, not the 11th. Before he could think more, his phone rang. It was Emi. "Did you read my diary?" she asked. "Yes," Toshi said, "but I don't understand anything." "Toshi," Emi said softly, "I've been hiding a very big secret from you. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. And bring that box with you." That night, the clock hit 12 o'clock. At that exact minute, Emi vanished from a public phone booth, gone, like she had stepped out of time. The next day they met. Emi took a deep breath. "If I told you there is another world exactly like this one, and I came from there, would you believe me? I know it sounds impossible, but it's true. I am from a parallel world. Time in my world runs in the opposite direction. Your future is my past, and your past is my future." Toshi stared at her, frozen. "To prove it," Emi said, "I knew where you would sketch. I knew your giraffe drawing would be displayed. I cooked food like your mother's on purpose. I wasn't guessing. I already knew." She held out her hand. "Give me the box." Toshi passed it to her, confused. Emi took out a key. She had the key. She opened the box. Inside was only one thing, a photo. Emi standing with Toshi's family. But Emi hadn't met them yet, and the photo had been with Toshi for 10 years. Toshi didn't want to believe it, but he had no choice now. The truth was in front of him. Emi continued, "I can come to your world for only 1 month every 5 years. When you were 5, I was 35. That's when I saved you in the river. When you turned 10, I was 30, and I gave you this box. When you're 15, I'm 25. And when you're 20, I'm 22. That's this month, when we're the same age." Toshi tried to follow. "If my future is your past, you can know my future. But how do you know your future? Because 5 years from now, when you are 25, Emmy said, you will tell me everything. I wrote it all in that diary. Remember at the river? I said a man saved me when I was 5. That man was you. Everything Emmy said fit together now. The backward dates, the perfect guesses, the photo. It all made sense, at least on paper. But Toshi's heart hurt. Once he knew the truth, the magic felt different. He started to feel like their time together was not real, just a script. Like Emmy was only acting out what was already written. Even her sweet moments felt planned. Stop, he said angrily. If you already know what happens next, why pretend to fall in love? If fate ties us only to saving each other, then that's all it is. Tears stung his eyes. The Emmy I know is gone. You're from my future. Whatever we did yesterday, you don't feel it the same. You're just reading a diary and copying the lines he turned to leave. Emmy reached out to stop him, but he pulled away. Shoichi noticed Toshi's silence and heavy mood. He could tell something had gone wrong between him and Emmy. Sitting beside him, Shoichi said gently, Look, Toshi, Emmy is a very good girl. Whatever happened, please don't let it end in anger. Just talk to her. Clear things up. But Toshi could not stop his tears. He kept staring at a photo of Emmy on his desk, thinking about all the moments they shared. Then suddenly, a realization struck him like lightning. My pain is nothing compared to Emmy's pain. He finally understood why Emmy often cried quietly when they met. For him, it was a beginning, but for her, every meeting was a farewell. What was new joy for him was already ending for her. Day by day, she was moving farther away, while he was still moving closer. Their first meeting had been her last. Toshi's chest ached with guilt. After everything Emmy had silently endured, he had still fought with her. With trembling hands, he picked up his phone to call and apologize. But the screen was dark. The battery had died. Panic rose inside him. He rushed home, plugged in his phone, and dialed as soon as it powered on. But the clock had already struck midnight, 12 o'clock. The Emmy who would answer now was not the same Emmy who had lived through today's fight. She would know nothing about it. Even so, he ran to the station. When he saw her, he hugged her tightly, tears running down his face. I'm sorry, he whispered. I couldn't understand your feelings before. Tomorrow I may act cold. I may not talk properly, but forgive me for that. Now Emmy held him quietly, her own eyes wet, as if she already knew every word. Later, back at home, Emmy finally spoke of her own truth. When I was 5 years old, I came to this world for the first time. That day, if you hadn't saved me from drowning, I would not be alive today. And exactly 15 years from now, when you are 35, that day will come for you too. On the screen, the words appeared, Day 22. Only 8 days remained before Emmy had to return to her world. From then on, Toshi changed. He devoted himself to Emmy. Every day he cared for her as if it were their last. They laughed, explored, and created countless small memories. Toshi introduced Emmy to his friends, and they all spent cheerful evenings joking and enjoying life. But there was a secret twist even here. Shoichi had known Emmy for a long time. Yet for Emmy, it was the first time meeting him. Toshi remembered when he had introduced her during the apartment shift. For him, it was the beginning. For her, it was already another layer of the past. Then came the day Toshi dreaded, introducing Emmy to his family. Both of them followed every line of the diary carefully, afraid that if they strayed even a little, the future might change, and they would never meet again. At Toshi's home, his mother prepared a wonderful meal. Emmy, while tasting the dishes, asked softly about the recipe. At that moment, Toshi finally understood how she had cooked food like his home that day. She had already known because this scene had been written before. After dinner, they took a family photo, the very same photo that had rested inside the mysterious box all these years. That night, as Toshi walked Emmy to the station, his heart broke. Tears rolled down his face. Why can't we live together? He cried. Why is our fate like this? Why do we have to meet only to be torn apart? Emmy had no answer. Her silence said more than words ever could. Her sadness was deeper than his, because from the very first day, when Toshi had asked her, will we meet again? Emmy had already known the truth. She wanted to cry then, to tell him that it was their last meeting, but she had swallowed her tears, hiding her pain, because she could not change destiny. The next day was special. For Toshi, it was the last day he would meet Emmy at the age of 20. But for Emmy, it was the very first day she was meeting him at this age. That is why she was nervous, shy to even talk. Toshi understood her feelings and said with a smile, I know today is your first day. The way you see me now, I was not like this 1 month ago. I used to wear glasses, and it was you who styled my hair. Toshi wanted to paint a picture of Emmy that day. Emmy agreed happily. While he began sketching, Emmy asked softly, Can you tell me everything from the beginning? You told me 5 years ago and I wrote it in my diary, but it was not in much detail. Now you remember everything better. So please, tell me again. Toshi nodded. Yes, of course. He started telling her everything. How they met, what they shared, what he had felt. While speaking, his eyes filled with tears. "Whenever you cried, I used to think you were just very emotional. But now look at me. I can't stop my own tears no matter how much I try." With effort, he completed the painting. Later, he walked her to the station. Both of them knew this was their last meeting at age 20. Emmy asked gently, "Did I become a good girlfriend?" Toshi smiled through his sadness. "Yes, absolutely. In this 1 month, we spent such beautiful time together." They sat holding each other's hands, not wanting to let go. But as the clock struck 12, Emmy suddenly disappeared. The place where she had been sitting was now empty. 5 years later, Toshi was 25. He went to meet Emmy at her school. This time she was 15. He showed her the same painting he had made before she vanished. The painting was beautiful. He told her everything again, step by step, explaining what she would have to do when she turned 20. Then the story was shown from Emmy's side. When Toshi gave her the painting and left, she waited. And when she finally turned 20, 5 years later, she went to meet him. This was that same time, Toshi's last day, Emmy's first day. Afterward, Toshi took her to meet his family. Slowly, Emmy too fell in love with him. But still, with each passing day, she was drifting away from him. That is why every time she met him, her eyes filled with tears. Think of it like this. The very first time when Toshi had asked Emmy, "Will we meet again?" For him, it was the beginning. But for Emmy, it was already the end. On that day when she was meeting him for the last time, no one could imagine the pain she was holding inside, hiding her tears. Later, when Toshi turned 35, he saved little Emmy's life, just as she had once saved him. He told her, "We will meet again." And then the story looped back to the beginning. We were shown the same first scene. Emmy was standing in the train on purpose, making sure Toshi could see her and talk to her. For Emmy, it was the end. For Toshi, it was the start. When his eyes fell on her, he felt love at first sight. This love story ends where it began. It is not like other love stories. Toshi and Emmy belong to two different worlds. In Toshi's world, time moved forward. 1, 2, 3. In Emmy's world, time moved backward. 3, 2, 1. From Emmy's view, Toshi's whole life was in reverse. The timeline is like this. When Emmy was 5, she came into Toshi's world. Toshi, who was 35 then, saved her from the river. When Emmy turned 15, Toshi was 25. He gave her the painting and told her everything. When Emmy turned 20, Toshi was also 20. That was the only time when they could love each other as equals. After that, when Emmy would turn 21, Toshi would only be 19. And because Emmy could visit only once in 5 years for 1 month, their paths would never match again. At Emmy 30, Toshi was 10. She gave him the box. At Emmy 35, Toshi was 5. She saved his life. And so their story is tied together forever. Each of them saved the other in childhood. Their lives, though moving in opposite directions, stayed connected by love. This loop has no end. It will continue over and over. I hope you like this story. It is a rare kind of love that you may not have seen anywhere else. Thank you for watching till the end.